This may be the most important battle in English history. More decisive than Hastings, more important than Agincourt, the day the Kingdom of England was forged in blood. And to this day, nobody knows where it was fought. More than 40 places have been proposed across Britain. Not one shred of the battlefield has ever been found. This is the story of Brunanburh, the greatest battle you have never heard of. To understand the battle, you must understand the king. His name was Æthelstan, and he was the grandson of Alfred the Great. Alfred had saved Wessex from the Vikings. Æthelstan finished the work. In the year 927, he marched north and seized Viking York, becoming the first man ever to rule all of what we now call England. On his coins, he stamped a bold new title, Rex Totius Britanniae, King of all Britain. He was the first English king ever shown wearing a crown, and he meant for every other ruler on the island to bow, and bow they did. At Æthelstan, the kings of the Scots, the Welsh and the Northern Britons submitted to Æthelstan and acknowledged him as their overlord. For a few short years, one man held mastery over the whole of Britain, something neither Rome nor any Anglo-Saxon before him had achieved. But pride breeds enemies. Every king who had knelt to the Englishman went home nursing the same bitter thought, that this upstart son of Wessex had to be brought down. And in 937 they stopped thinking it and started planning it. They built the largest alliance against an English king the age had ever seen. Olaf Guthfrithson, the fierce Norse king of Dublin who hungered to win back York for the Vikings. Constantine, the old and cunning king of the Scots. And Owain, king of Strathclyde, lord of the northern Britons. 3 peoples, 3 armies, one purpose, to crush Æthelstan, shatter his kingdom, and carve up the island between them. In the late summer of 937, the storm gathered. Here is what we can piece together. In August of 937, Olaf launched his fleet from Dublin and crossed the Irish Sea, his longships crammed with Norse and Irish warriors. He joined forces with Constantine's Scots marching down from the north, and with Owain's Britons of Strathclyde. Together they poured into Æthelstan's territory, burning and plundering as they came. The English king did not flinch. He summoned the men of Wessex and Mercia, and with his young half-brother Edmund at his side, a boy of barely 16, he marched north to find them. Somewhere, in a place whose name we have half forgotten, the two hosts met. There were no knights at Brunanburh, no plate armor, no cavalry charges. This was a war of the shield wall, hundreds of men locking their round shields edge to edge into a living wall of wood and iron, and behind it a hedge of spears. Most warriors wore only wool and leather. Mail and swords belonged to the wealthy few. The rest carried a spear, a shield, and a long knife. Victory came down to one brutal question: whose wall would break first? And on both sides, these were hardened killers who had never learned how to lose. They came together with a sound like thunder. The shield walls smashed into one another and locked, and the killing began at arm's length. Spear against shield, axe against helmet, men crushed so close they could barely raise a blade. The Norse fought with the broad two-handed axe that could split a shield in one blow. The English answered with the discipline Alfred's house had taught them. Hold the line, fill the gaps, do not break. And neither side broke. Hour after hour, the slaughter went on. The Anglo-Saxon Chronicle says the battle lasted the whole of the day. From dawn until the sun sank low, the two walls ground against each other in a contest of pure endurance. The field filled with the dead. The poets who recorded it reached for the darkest words they had. Never, they wrote, had there been greater slaughter on this island since the Angles and Saxons first came over the sea. And then at last, after a day of horror, one wall began to give. It was not the English. The coalition shattered and ran, and the English cut them down as they fled. The toll was staggering. The chronicle counts 5 kings and 7 of Olaf's earls left dead on the field, along with countless others. Among the slain was the son of Constantine himself. The old Scottish king watched his own child die in the mud. Olaf escaped to his ships and fled back across the sea to Dublin with a broken remnant. Constantine rode north into Scotland a beaten man. Æthelstan had won the most complete victory of the age. Now, because this channel is built on the truth, let us be honest about how we know all this. Almost everything comes from a single source, a 73-line poem written into the Anglo-Saxon chronicle, a victory song composed to glorify the English king. Its horror is real, but its details are heroic poetry, not a battle report. And yet, far away in Ireland, the monks of the Annals of Ulster recorded the same event, calling it a great, lamentable and horrible battle, in which uncounted thousands of Norsemen fell. Two enemies, two languages, one terrible truth. The scale, at least, was real. There is one more source, and it is a tantalizing trap. An Icelandic saga, written 3 centuries later, describes a great battle on a place it calls Vinheath, a battle many believe is Brunanburh, told in vivid detail no other source gives. But it was set down 250 years after the fact, by storytellers who valued a good tale over a true one. Historians warn it may hold grains of truth wrapped in legend. We cannot trust it, and that leaves us standing before the greatest riddle of all. Where did England's greatest battle happen? The astonishing answer is that we do not know. The poem names only one word, Brunanburh, and that place has vanished from the map. For 4 centuries, scholars have argued, proposing more than 40 different sites across Britain. The leading clue points to the Wirral, near a village once called Brunanburh and now Bromborough, beside a marsh the poem calls Dingersmere. But others, like the historian Michael Wood, argue for Yorkshire, on the road to the very York the Vikings wanted back. No weapon, no grave, no rampart has ever settled it. The field where England was born is still lost.
So why does a lost battle matter so much?
Because of what was at stake. Had Æthelstan lost that day, his young kingdom would almost certainly have been torn apart. England carved up between Norse, Scots and Britons before it was a generation old. Some historians caution that we should not overstate it. But the simplest truth is this: at Brunanburh, the idea of a single, unified England survived its deadliest test. The poets knew it. They called Æthelstan and Edmund the men who had won glory in battle and a country. This was, as one historian put it, the birth of England. But history is rarely so tidy. Just 2 years after his triumph, in 939, Æthelstan died. He had no children, and the moment he was gone, the Vikings of York rose again and took their city back. The unity he had bled for began to unravel. It would take another 15 years, and the expulsion of the last Viking king of York, before England was whole for good. Æthelstan was buried at Malmesbury Abbey, as he had wished. But even there, fate mocked him. His bones were lost over the centuries, and the tomb that bears his name today stands empty. The maker of England has no grave, and so somewhere out there, in a field on the Wirral or a Yorkshire hillside, or a place no one has yet guessed, lie the bones of the thousands who fell on the day England was born. We walk past it without knowing. We have forgotten the name of the most important battlefield in our history. Perhaps that is the truest measure of how much there is still to remember. If this story stirred something in you, subscribe to Forged in Albion. And next, let us tell you how the Vikings came within a hair's breadth of taking it all back.